Hey guys, Ride the Nerd here, and I'm back again with another top 10 list video. So the last time I did this, it was favorite animated TV show villains, and this time I'm doing non-Disney animated movie villains. Now the reason why I put non-Disney is because Disney would take up half of this list if it was just animated movie villains. So, and also most villains that I really do like are non-Disney, so it makes perfect sense why I would do that. Not gonna go too dwelling on this list, on this intro, I mean. But just want to let you know that if your favorite villain is lower on this list, please do not hate me. It's just my opinion, and I love each and every villain that's on this list. I just rank them based on how much I like them personally, but I still do really enjoy each and one of these, so don't hate me on that. But anyway, we're just going to stop rambling with the intro, and we're going to get right into number 10.
Spit that stuff out! Go on, spit it out!
But Ozzy, I'm hungry!
Spit it out, you grass guzzler!
Okay, so for number 10, I have Ozzy and Strut from The Land Before Time 2. Now, The Land Before Time is a very personal film series to me. I only have the first two movies, and one of the other, sequels that I don't really enjoy as much as the first and the second one. I used to watch the second one a lot when I was younger. The VHS tape that I have is almost worn out because how much I watched that movie. And I didn't put the Sharptooth on here because he's just kind of a generic dinosaur villain. I still really enjoy him, but he's just too generic for me to actually put him on this list. But I put Ozzy and Strut on here is because, for nostalgic reasons. So basically, Ozzy and Strut are oviraptors, and they want to basically eat eggs, basically. They want to, eat all the eggs in the valley and all that good stuff, except for Strut. Strut is a herbivore or a vegetarian, and Ozzy does not like that, so he tries to get his brother to, not become vegan. You can interpret that as your own will, but that is just the most hilarious thing, especially to today's standards. But they only attack our main heroes is because they literally they accidentally ruin their plan of trying to eat eggs, and they're basically they're holding a grudge on the eggs, which is really funny. But Strut is just kind of going along with his older brother because he's just extremely mad. But later on in the movie, they're both kind of like, all right, we're sick of this, because they're literally falling off cliffs. They're getting injured all the time. And they're like, we're sick, so we're just going to throw Littlefoot off a cliff, which that is like the most funniest thing. And then, Chomper comes in and, saves them or whatever. But I really enjoy these two. They are a great, villain duo and a great comic relief duo. I really enjoy it. I don't really like having goofy villains, but these two are extremely goofy, so I literally had to put them at number 10. So we're going to move on right into number 9.
Hit me one time. Hit me twice. Oh! Ah!
Oh! That's rather nice.
Oh, at number 9, I have Hexxus from Ferngully. Ferngully is also another movie that I watched a lot as a kid. I still have the VHS tape somewhere. I've also worn that tape out. I've worn basically all my VHS tapes. They're all worn out. They're almost done. But Ferngully was the one that I watched the most as a kid. One of the most. It's a, differ between, a couple of them. But it's one of the most movies that I watched as a kid. But the reason why I put Hexxus on here is because, like Ozzy and Strut, for nostalgic reasons, he is one of the greatest villains that has ever, that I've ever seen in my life, pretty much when I was younger. I thought he was so cool when I was younger, and I still think he's really cool. That mostly has to do with his animation. His animation is just extremely slithery and sinister, where he's like all goopy, and he's just, going around, and he's just, causing havoc wherever he goes. But another reason why I really like him now, by looking back on the movie, I really do like how he's very mysterious. You don't know what he's going to look like because he changes forms throughout the movie. The first form that he takes is when he's trapped in his tree, and then when the tree is cut down, he transforms into a goop monster slime thing, and then he transforms into a smoke monster, a really handsome smoke monster, mind you. And then at the end of the movie, he turns into a very, goopy skeleton fireman, and that is extremely horrifying. And I'm glad that that they kept his final form hidden, because throughout the movie you don't know what he's going to transform into next, because you know that he could transform at any time by how much smoke he's collecting from the tree cutter machine. So then you're like, oh god, well, what is he going to turn to next? So it really keeps you like invested in what he's going to become. And also, I have to mention that he is voiced by Tim Curry, which amazing, by the way. That's just amazing in itself. But he has a great singing voice. He has a great song, "Toxic Love." If you guys have not heard that song, it's on YouTube, obviously. Please go check it out. It's a beat, bro. It's a bomb song. It's great. I love it. It's not my favorite song ever, but it is a villain song, I should say. But it is still a really good villain song. And of course, it's Tim Curry. He also gets a plus, obviously. But he's also just trying to destroy the rainforest. So he just doesn't want. He just wants to basically destroy everything, which I guess that could be a little cliche for some people, but for me, I don't know if this is just nostalgic reasons, but I really enjoy Hexxus a lot, for many different reasons, which I'm not going to get into, because I could probably make an entire video just on him alone. A lot of these things I could probably make it a video all on their own, but, this is just a short video, but I really do enjoy Hexxus, so that's why he's at my number 9. So let's get into number 8.
We were just talking about you.
So at number 8, we have Jenner from The Secret of NIMH. So if you not have watched Secret of NIMH, it's a Don Bluth film. The same guy who made Land Before Time 1, All Dogs Go to Heaven, Secret of NIMH, obviously, and a couple of other movies that I can't really remember. It'll probably come back to me after this video's done. I'm going to be like, damn, why did I not mention that in the video? But why Jenner is my favorite is for 2 reasons. One, I've been really liking Secret of NIMH lately. I've been kind of on a Secret of NIMH craze. And I've been watching, the movie, and I've been watching people's interpretations of the movie and all that good stuff. But this Secret of NIMH is also one of those movies that Don Bluth was like, I don't like where Disney is going with their movies now. I want to go into the old school style with because at this point, their movies weren't as high quality as they used to be. So Don Bluth left Disney, and he made Secret of NIMH, which that was like kind of his passion project, because he wanted to prove that there is a good animation still, and that you can make a good movie and stuff like that. And there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff of there's a lot of people in the project that didn't want to do the project and all that stuff, because they were like, why are we doing this? But they kept their strength going, and they made the movie, which I'm really proud of. But a really high thing that makes me enjoy this movie a lot is Jenner, obviously. Not just because of the story that he's involved in, but he's just a really great and sinister villain. Basically, he wants to get revenge on the humans because they experimented on him and they gave him really high intelligence, but he wants to destroy all humans because, nobody wants to be experimented on, because he was just a regular rat minding his own business, and here comes these humans that capture him and do crazy, horrible things to him, but he only gets super intelligence, and basically he just wants the humans dead. But their leader, Nicodemus, doesn't want the humans to be hurt. He wants the humans to be left alone, and nobody wants to hurt the humans and all that stuff. But Jenner wants the humans to all die, because basically he's kind of sick of, these humans getting away with all these horrible crimes. that they've committed against his people and his, his friends and family and all that stuff. So basically, he's just trying to get revenge on the humans, which that's a very, very interesting motivation, very unique villain motivation. I've never seen, a character want to take revenge on humans. Well, obviously, there's a lot of characters I want to, animated animal characters I want to take revenge on humans for something that they did. But Jenner is one of the unique ones because he wants to get revenge on them because they tortured him and they tortured his friends and family and possibly loved ones because of that. And with that, he becomes really insane, and you can really start to see that he's just really wants to get Nicodemus out of the way, especially the planning scene. He just really wants to get Nicodemus out of the way so he can enact his revenge against the humans. And unfortunately, he meets his demise by his old partner, who realized that he's a terrible person, a terrible rat, I should say, and kills him. And so basically his motivation dies with Jenner and, all that good stuff. But what I really like about him is his voice. I forgot the voice actor who actually did it, but he did a terrific job voicing Jenner. He really gets that, sinister emotion, really sinister appeal and all that stuff. And the animation towards, like, the animators that, animated Jenner also did a really unique job conveying, his really maddening eyes and his teeth and all the wrinkles in his face, all that good stuff. He's just a really unique villain and a really sinister one at that. Even though that he's a rat, I am petrified of Jenner, because if a crazy, rat is showing that much, hatred for us and he has really high intelligence, that is screwed. I do not want that. And also, he's literally going to let our main character's child drown in mud, by the way. He cuts. He wants the house of Miss Brisby to collapse on Nicodemus, which it fortunately does. But he also wants. He doesn't care that there's a sick child in the house. He's just gonna watch the house, flood with mud, and the eventually sick child will die. That's extremely messed up, especially for an animated kids movie. This is a kids movie, by the way, with experiments. And well, there is fantasy aspects, but like letting that sick child drown while his mother is watching helplessly as the house sinks and they can't do anything because the ropes are snapped, like that is extremely messed up. Even though that he died, that is extremely messed up, which I do appreciate. I do like, villains being sinister, but still, that is still messed up, which I do really appreciate. But that's gonna do for Jenner. Let's move on to number 7.
I told you once I was trying to impress you. I hope I have.
And I told you that I would kill you myself. There's no white bird here, Bigwig.
Alright, so number 7, we have General Woundwart, there you go, from Watership Down. Now, Watership Down is a very, very messed up movie. It got a U rating in the UK. If you don't know what a U rating is, U rating is basically a G in the West. G rating, and there are bunnies being slaughtered. You get to see the blood, you get to see the guts, you get to see everything. There's literally, scenes of dogs ripping the bunnies to shreds, just tearing them apart, just shaking them around, and just blood everywhere. It's a really messed up movie. So you're really on the edge of your seat when you're watching this movie, because our main characters could die at literally any moment. Literally, there's a scene of them and one of them gets picked up by a hawk and flows away. So you know that our main characters could die at any moment, from birds, from foxes, to hounds, to anything. So when General Woundwart comes in, you know that they're not going to be safe, because the characters think that they're safe when they come across this warren of General Woundwart. And they've been traveling for so long, and they just want to get away from their own warren, because Fiverr's brother has a terrible vision about their warren being, destroyed, and eventually that prophecy comes to fruition. So once they move away from their warren and try to find a new place to live, they find General Woundwart's warren, and he's a very tough leader. He's very tough. He doesn't care much about his men. He only cares about himself and the warren and the survival of himself. And basically, when the characters come across him, the characters need a break, right? but they don't get a break because General Woundwart doesn't like them. They want to be destroyed. So because they literally moved in next door, so they just want to destroy it. They don't want to die. And the fight scene between Bigwig and General Woundwart is very, very disturbing. You get to see the claws, you get to see the blood, everything like that. And his final scene of him hopping or, attacking the Hound, it's very slow motion, where the Hound is coming towards General Woundwart, and General Woundwart is, coming in contact with the Hound. It's very slow motion, and you don't get to see what actually happens to General Woundwart. Which is very ambiguous, which I do really appreciate. And also, you don't get to know his backstory. He has a scar on his, I want to say his left eye. And he is very old, he's very rugged, so you don't know what his backstory is, and they don't go in depth with it. You just kind of have to fill in the gaps. The Watership Down Netflix miniseries, I do really enjoy that as well. But what I don't like about it is that they show General Woundwart's backstory about how he got attacked by a fox, which I don't really like that. It leaves... I like when a villain's backstory is left ambiguous, so you kind of have to fill in the blanks and you can interpret it any way you want. But for the miniseries, I don't like how they showed General Woundwart's backstory. I like it when it's ambiguous. But yeah, the reason why he's at my number 7 spot and not higher is because you don't really get to see enough of him. I really wanted him to, be a really big threat to the characters, which he is a very big threat in the miniseries, but I'm talking about, the original film. And from 1977 or something around there. It's in the 70s, 1970s. But the reason why he's lower is because you don't get to see enough scenes of him, which I really want him to be in more scenes, but I guess they didn't have enough time, and it would have slowed down the movie, which I guess could be understandable. But still, if you're going to have a really intimidating villain like General Woundwart is, and a violent one at most, you want to see more of him, right? Because he is a very, very big presence in the movie, at the very, at the third act. So, you kind of want to see more of him, and, just want to see more of him and what he can do. So that is why he's at my number 7 spot. So we're going to move on to number 6.
Maybe I'll start with killing this.
So number 6, we have Ares from Next Gen. Next Gen is probably one of my favorite Netflix original movies. When you think of Netflix originals, you think of terrible, god-awful movies. I mean, bottom of the barrel, just money grabs. But Next Gen is a really, really high-quality movie. Really fun characters, great villain. We'll get to him later. And, just a really great animation style, great story as well. I don't want to go full depth in the movie. You can see it for yourself. It's a really great one. Highly recommend it. But Ares is a evil robot. He's not just an evil robot that doesn't like humans. He literally killed his master, and he's been manipulating his skin for ever, basically. So Ares is this giant robot bodyguard, and Justin Pin is this, Steve Jobs guy who's very, he's very, he's the bad guy straight away. He's the bad guy. But, because he's very sinister and, all that stuff. But at the plot twist that you realize that Ares killed Justin Pin, and he manipulated his body so that he can control his rotting corpse. Which, that is extremely messed up. Extremely messed up once you think about it. I was very shocked the first time when I watched this movie and that plot twist came up, because I thought that Ares was just a bodyguard, and, he was just a bodyguard, and he would be destroyed, and then Justin Pin, will have to find a way to, destroy the heroes or whatever. But no, the heroes destroy Justin Pin, and you realize that Justin Pin is a robot being controlled by another robot, and it is very, very messed up, and cool, mind you. And so, yeah, but you can always, once you rewatch the movie, a couple of times, now you know that Ares is, the main, plot twist villain, the twist villain, which most people don't like twist villains. I don't really mind them. It really depends how they're implemented into the story and how well they're done. Ares is a very well done twist villain, and they did a tremendous job of conveying a twist villain like this one with a really disturbing and really unique plot twist, which I really do like. But as I was saying, once you rewatch Next Gen, you realize that Ares is more in control of Justin Pin than you realize. And you know that they've been leading up to that Ares is going to be the main character, the main villain, because how many scenes he's in, and also because when he's fighting our main character's robot. I forgot the robot's name because I haven't seen the movie in a while, so I'm a little rusty on it. But once he's fighting him, you see that Justin Pin is moving his head like he's dodging the attacks like Ares is. So you realize that Justin Pin and Ares are connected nervous system, basically. So that is really, and he can feel Justin Pin's, physical body and all that stuff, which that's really weird and creepy as well. So that's why he's on my number 6 spot, because he's just a really unique twist villain that's done really well. And the plot twist itself is a really, really messed up plot twist and very dark for a kid's film. But yeah, that's why he's on my number 6 spot. So let's move into number 5.
You're just in time for supper, dear.
So at my number 5 spot, I have The Other Mother from Coraline. Coraline is one of my favorite movies ever. I love the stop motion. As you guys know that, I've done a lot of stop motion short films on my channel. You can go check those out. There's a playlist of, all my short film stop motions that I've done. And Coraline is one of the main inspirations for me to even start doing stop motion. And that's why Laika is one of my favorite studios ever, film studios. And Coraline is one of my favorite movies because it's a very, very, very unique movie. Even though that it is based on a book, it's a very unique story. And The Other Mother is a very unique villain as well. She's very intimidating. And you once you first meet her, you know that something is extremely off. You don't trust her. But like once Coraline keeps coming to the the other world, you start to kind of see that the other mother, you kind of forget that she's intimidating. I mean, in the back of your mind, you're like, oh, don't really trust her. But once you're watching it, you're kind of blinded about how she's making all the food for her. She's making her nice clothes. So you're like, oh, maybe she is nice or something like that. And then you realize that no, she's a terrible, terrible entity that feeds on kids. And that's why she has 3 kids' souls in the mirror, so that she could stay in power. And she needs kids to, keep herself alive and all that stuff. And what I really like is that the other mother slowly starts to, decay because Coraline has collect all the other, the ghost eyes. So once she comes back, she's all in her spider form. She's all decaying because her power has been almost drained, and Coraline is the only power that she could actually have. And if she gets away, then she can't live in her world, and herself will die. And also the other mother is the hands making the doll at the very beginning, which that's very unique and very, you're kind of on your edge. So it really just shows that she's always watching, and she's always been in the movie, even when Coraline's not even in the other world. It's a very dark movie, but a great dark movie. I love it to bits. And The Other Mother is one of my favorite villains of this list in Laika's history. All the other Laika villains are unique and all that stuff, but The Other Mother has got to be everybody's fan's favorite because Coraline is such a great movie, and The Other Mother is such a creepy villain and all that. It's just a very, very awesome character. Really enjoy it. And also she wants to sew Coraline buttons into her eyes, which is just messed up, so she can stay in there so she can't leave. And that's how she got the ghost children to stay with her. But Coraline was smart enough to, escape from that. But what I really like is that the other mother is in control of this world. So when Coraline is trying to go to sleep, so she can, wake up into her own house, that's the other mother doing that. she's placing Coraline into the real world. So when Coraline is trying to go to sleep, so she can go back home to the real world, the other mother just denies that. She's like, nope, can't go back there. So she just stops her from doing that. So she just keeps her in the world so she can't leave. And at the very end, you know that she's very desperate because her hand, detaches so she can grab Coraline, bring her back to the door, and open it and throw Coraline in there so she can, do whatever she needs to do to Coraline to keep her there so her power can, still be in there, which that is very dark and very messed up, which I love it to bits. And Coraline is also another great movie that got me into, horror and all that stuff, so thank you, Henry Selick, for doing that. And the other mother is a scary-ass villain, so that's why she's at my number 5th spot. So we're going to move into the number 4 spot. So at my number 4 spot, I have Rudy from Ice Age 3. Say what you want about the Ice Age movies. We can all agree that the first is, the best out of all of them. And that all the others are just, small adventures that the characters go on. Well, not small, but you know what I mean. But the only ones that everybody seems to love are the first 3 movies that everybody really likes. The 4th is not that bad, but the 5th is absolutely terrible. But what really keeps people, what people really liked about these movies are the villains. The villains are really, really, really unique. I mean, Soto's a little, I don't really care much about Soto. But Captain Guy's a really intimidating villain. But the fan favorite has got to be Rudy, obviously. Rudy is one of the most intimidating dinosaurs that I've ever seen in film. And a really unique dinosaur villain. All the other dinosaur villains are just there to hunt, the main characters in the other movies and all that stuff. But Rudy has a personal attachment to one of our characters, which is Buck. And that's what I've always said this before, and I'll say it again. I love when a villain has a personal connection to the hero. And Rudy is one of those examples, because Rudy was just, he ate Buck, and Buck shot out of his mouth, and, chopped off his tooth, basically, because he'd flown out so fast out of his mouth. And basically they've been, that they've been fighting for many years, because Rudy has to hold a grudge against Buck. I mean, I think any of us would, be very upset if a weasel, chopped off our tooth or something, and puts our tooth on a stick and calls it a day for a sword or a knife. So, yeah, I think anybody's would be mad. And what I really like about Rudy is that he's always, you don't get a good look at him until the very end of the movie. You don't get a very good look. He's always, you hear Buck talk about Rudy and how, how he got his scar and all that stuff, and that's why he, got his scar and all that stuff. And then, Buck is always telling them that he's watching, he's huge, he's massive, he'll eat you and all that stuff. And all the dinosaurs know that Rudy is basically the biggest dinosaur in the underworld, and all the dinosaurs are terrified of him. And basically, you only see his feet. You see a shadow on the wall. You don't even get a good look at him in the Buck flashback. You only get to see his eye, his claws, and some of his lower half. And what I really like is that he's shrouded in the clouds when Buck is on the tree. So when he's like swimming, or like in the clouds, like a crocodile in the water, the clouds change to white, but it's not like a clear white cloud. It's very grayish, whitish, and then his eyes are very red. And then when Rudy eats Buck in the flashback, his mouth is all red. So that's very awesome. And also, you don't get to see a good look at him when he's just, what I'm trying to say is that Rudy is shrouded in mystery. You don't get a good look at him, which I really do appreciate. So, like Hexxus, you don't know what he's actually going to look like at the very end. So once you do, you realize that he's very intimidating. He's very white, not pure white, mind you, but he is white. And, he's just trying to hold a grudge. But at the end, you realize that Buck does care about him, because Rudy is the only thing that Buck actually knows, and that's why he sticks down there for so long, because that's the only thing that's giving him, the adventure of a lifetime, basically. But at the very end, you get to see that Rudy and Buck are besties because Rudy or Buck saves Rudy. We don't really know how they become best friends, but or acquaintances, if you mind that. But yeah, he is still a really unique dinosaur villain, and got to be one of my top dinosaur villains on my dinosaur villain list, which I probably won't make a video on that because there's not much dinosaur villains other than the sharp tooth or villains that are just there to hunt the humans. But Rue is a very unique case because, like I said, he has a personal attachment to Buck, which I really do appreciate that. So that's why he's on my number 4 spot. So let's move on to our number 3 spot.
Hello, brother. Thirsty.
On my number 3 spot, I have Rattlesnake Jake from Rango. Rango is a very unique looking movie and a very unique movie and story-wise. The characters, the designs in that movie are very unique. You always want to know their backstory because some of them have missing limbs, and stuff like that. So you really want to know. It really feels like every character has their own backstory, and they could be in their own movie and stuff like that. So that's what I appreciate. But Rango, Rattlesnake Jake has got to be one of the most interesting character designs because how could you take a rattlesnake that has no arms and no legs and turn him into a gunslinging, crazy and intimidating villain? They made his rattler, a Gatling gun, and he has bullets around his body and all that stuff, and he's a wicked hat with barbed wire on it. So just a very, very unique looking villain, and a very intimidating one because he is so much larger than all the other characters, and he's long too, and they all have he has a very powerful representation in the town because he has taken out so many sheriffs, and because the henchman of the mayor says that he never leaves town without taking a soul. So that, basically half of the graves in that grave scene are done by Rattlesnake Jake, that we assume. And basically, Rattlesnake Jake is also toying with Rango because Rango is keeping up this facade of being a sheriff. And basically, Rango says that, Rattlesnake Jake is his brother. And everybody's like, wait, how? How is that possible? And he's like, oh, just from a different mother, and I guess, and something like that. It's very comical. But when Rattlesnake Jake does show up, Rango is all intimidated by him like everybody else is. But Rattlesnake Jake shows Rango that he knows that the rumors that he's been calling him his brother. So he really just, he just goes in full and he just calls him brother. Like they haven't seen each other in for years. And basically, he does get, but Rattlesnake Jake is not just, a very intimidating villain with no fears in that. It does appear that way, but he is afraid of the hawk, which is a very, real thing for rattlesnakes because in the wild they get hunted by hawks all the time. So that makes perfect sense. And it shows that Rattlesnake Jake is very intimidating to other people, but he's also intimidated himself by the hawk, which that is really unique and very interesting. And also he does, at the very end, he doesn't like people, behind his back. And, he just uses the mayor's, quote against him, basically. And, so basically he's just a very unique villain, and we haven't seen a villain like him in film, and especially animated films. And also we gotta get a big prop. I gotta get a big prop to Bill Nye for voicing him. He does a terrific job with the very sinister sounding look to him, and all that stuff. Very, very unique. I do like that about he's got to be one of my favorite Bill Nye characters. Rattlesnake Jake, really, really awesome. But yeah, that's gonna do it for Rattlesnake Jake. But we're gonna move on to my number 2 spot. So in my number 2 spot, I have Brain from 9. If you know me personally, you know that he's going to be high on this list. Brain is one of my favorite villains in animation history because 9 is a very personal movie to me, like a lot of these movies are, but 9 is a very personal movie to me because 9 inspired me to make my own films and to even make my own channel, believe it or not, and to also make me eventually become a film director, because that was the first movie that I ever watched the behind the scenes of, and I realized that there's a lot of heart and effort put into these movies, and I have always wanted to know how they did that. So when I watched the behind the scenes of 9, I really was inspired to become a film director and make my own stories and shorts and all that stuff. So I got to get a really big props to 9. But Brain has got to be one of the most unique robot villains I've ever seen, because he literally destroys the entire world. He destroys all life on Earth. There's no life except for the ragdolls, and it's just a very, very unique concept, because we have all heard about, robots, destroying all life on Earth and all that stuff, and killing, humans and all that stuff. But Brain did it in a very unique way, because Brain basically went insane because the humans were working him to death. And he just because he doesn't have a soul and he's just made of pure intelligence, he can't really, he just went insane, and he couldn't, differentiate between, if I could, stop what I'm doing or, keep going what I'm through. So basically all he did what he can only do was turn the robots against the humans because they worked him to death. And he also has a very personal connection to 9 as well, because 9 is also very intrigued by him, but also wants to get rid of him at all costs, because Brain basically sucks the life force out of the dolls, which that is very disturbing. And also because he gets so attached to these characters later on, like 5, you realize that he's just gonna die because of 9, basically. And what I really like about Brain is that, like I said, he has a very personal connection to 9 as well, but 9 also has a personal connection because 9 is part of the scientist, and the scientist made Brain, and the scientist was very ashamed of what he'd done because he couldn't do anything to stop Brain. And Brain basically he really liked the scientist, because in the scene where the chancellor is taking Brain away, Brain is snapping the scientists, well, not the scientists, but snapping the guards' necks, because they're taking the scientist away from him. And basically he cares about the scientists. But at the end, Brain just went insane and killed all the humans, and that he's a very big force, because our characters are so small. Brain is a very large and intimidating force to be reckoned with, and he also makes more creatures to go after them. So that he's always up to something, even though if his one creation failed, he's always going to be working and making improvements, so to speak, on his new creations to get the ragdolls. And what I really like, you don't really know why he's collecting the souls of the ragdolls, or the Stitch Punks, sorry. But you don't really get to know that, which I really do like. It shrouds him in mystery, and you can only guess of why he's doing it. So yeah, it's very unique, leaving the main villain's motivation shrouded in mystery, but it is still there somewhat. Some people might protest that there's no motivation behind Brain and he's just a mindless beast or whatever. I would disagree. We just don't know the reason why he's taking the souls of the ragdolls. So yeah, that's why he's on my number 2 spot. He's just part of the movie that made me want to start making movies myself, and eventually become a film director. And he's just a very unique villain and gotta be one of my favorites. So that's why he's on my number 2 spot. So let's move on to my the first spot of the list. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
You were there. Yes, I was.
So at my number 1 spot, I have Lord Shen. Lord Shen is one of my favorite movie non-Disney villains of all time. He is a terrific villain. He is part of a film franchise, a film trilogy that everybody really loves, and it's very nice. And he made the movie so great, and it's just a really, really awesome villain, but also a very tragic one at most, because he was a very young peacock prince that was experimenting with the fireworks that his family created in Gotham City, and eventually he found out that they could, have destructive powers, and he doesn't know what he was really messing with. And basically he overhears, his nanny, also known as the soothsayer, tell his parents that he's going to be defeated by a black and white if he continues down the path that he's going towards. And instead of, stopping of what he's doing and, maybe I shouldn't do this, he goes out and kills and massacres and genocides a panda village. All of the pandas have been erased from China at this point because of Shen, because he was afraid that a warrior black and white was going to stop him. So he basically just burns the entire thing to the ground. He murders, he massacres, he massacres Poe's mom. Frankly, Poe and his dad are the only ones that ever survived that panda attack. And we don't know if he went on to kill more pandas at most, but we don't really know. But after that, when he comes back to his family, he's full of pride, but his parents are very, horrified at the things that he's done, and they banish him from the city, and Shen is very heartbroken by this, but he's just so shrouded in anger and, despair that he just doesn't care, and he wants to reenact his revenge. And his parents died of heartbreak, basically, because they loved him so much that sending him away, it broke their hearts too much that they died of heartbreak. But Lord Shen doesn't care. Literally, he does not care that his parents died, because he literally says that the death exists in the past. But deep down, he knows that his parents still loved him. But he's just so focused on the future and so focused on the past, and that he's letting the past differentiate his future, determine his future, basically. But he's not, trying to forget about what happened in the past and try to, make rights with that. He just wants to get away from, he just doesn't want the prophecy to become to fruition. And he is one of the most brutal villains I've ever seen. He is manipulating Poe to death. He knows that parents, dishatred to their child will destroy Poe, because he's experienced that himself. So that's what I really like about that. And another thing that I really like about it... Sorry about that, I just had to deal with something. But anyway, like I was saying, he is probably one of the Kung Fu Panda villains that are very, very unique, but also a fan favorite to everybody who enjoys the trilogy as much as I do. But he's very skilled at, weapons and all that stuff. And he literally took down three powerful Kung Fu masters by his own hand. I mean, he defeated Ox and Croc by his own hand by, using his lance and his weapons and all that stuff. But he couldn't actually, because he knows that he can't defeat all of them with just his his lance and his weapons and all that stuff, because he's not a skilled fighter. But what makes up for that is his intelligence, and he knows that he can't defeat them all. So he just uses his cannon to, just destroy Kung Fu, basically. And everybody is basically in despair because that the weapon is so powerful that basically they've seen that it can kill a great Kung Fu master like Master Rhino was. So it's a very unique, even though that we know what a cannon is, and you're like, oh, the cannon's not that big of a deal. But these characters, they don't know what a cannon is. Lord Shen is the first person who actually created a cannon in this universe, and it's very powerful enough to even, just destroy Kung Fu at will. And very, very, very powerful weapon. He's a very skilled fighter as well, and he manipulates Poe as well. He's always toying with him. He's always, like I said before, he's just toying with him as long as he wants, because he knows that Poe has PTSD from his feathers, so he uses that to his advantage. And he's also using Poe's, disfocusing because of the PTSD that he has from his parents, and he's using that in his combat with Poe, because usually Poe is so focused on what he's doing in battle that when he's battling Shen, that he can't really focus on what he's doing. So he's always just trying to go after him and get answers. but he's always, stumbling. He's always he's not focusing on what Shen's going to do next, because Shen is just using that manipulation and that PTSD against Poe, which that's very messed up for Poe, but very awesome for Shen, because he's such a great villain. And his backstory is very tragic as well. Very, very tragic backstory for Poe and for him as well. So you really feel the connection for both of them. You really, you know that Shen is a very, distraughted person, and Poe's backstory is also very disheartening, because Shen wiped out his entire family and everything that he loved. But that also brought Poe closer to being the Dragon Warrior and finding inner peace. But Shen doesn't. He's just more focused on, getting rid of Poe, because, like the prophecy said, he would be defeated by a warrior black and white. So he's very, he just doesn't want that prophecy to become fruition. But at the very end of the movie, he realizes that Poe found inner peace, and he's very, very shocked about it, about how he found inner peace. And the fact is that he doesn't stay and fight Poe once the cannon is going to fall on him. He doesn't try to move out of the way. He doesn't try to fight back or, kill Poe before the cannon falls on him or anything like that. He just accepts his fate. So that could be interpreted in two ways: either that Poe did defeat him, or that Shen defeated himself with a own weapon that he created. You can interpret that in many different ways. To be honest, I can go on and on about why Shen is my favorite villain, but I think that this video has gone on for too long. So you can go watch this video. I'll put the picture on screen. Go watch this video. It's a very, in-depth analysis of why Shen is a great villain, and all the reasons that I don't want to mention in this video, because it's just going to go on for too long. I'm going to start rambling, repeating myself. But there's a lot of all the points that this person made in their video has a lot of points that I really like about Lord Shen. So you can go watch that video if you're really interested. But yeah, that's gonna do it for me, guys. I really hope you enjoyed my top 10 non-Disney villains video list, whatever you want to call it. But that's gonna do it for me, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe. I don't care what you do, but you guys know what time it is. So bye, guys.